Henry sat on the plastic bench of Boston Metro train L42. He was heading to his home in the outskirts of Boston from his work office. He wasn't thinking of what would happen in the next couple hours. He started to close his eyes, and he was asleep when everything plunged into darkness. As the train screeched to a stop, the conductor, Mark, was thrown from his seat into the windshield. Just as the lights went out, his trained arm went directly for two things: his flashlight and his keys. He got up from his seat and groaned in pain. The unexpected stop had put quite a bruise on his face. He opened the door leading to the passenger compartment. As he swept his light through the car, he was shocked to realize that out of the original 32 passengers, only about 8 were still in the cab. He turned to a security officer whose name was Dana. "What happened?" he asked. "Dunno, but when they stopped, they were all gone," she replied. All of a sudden, an argument broke out. One woman wanted to borrow another woman's phone, but they were engaged in a tug-of-war. All of a sudden, the phone flew out of their hands, its dim light not covering them for a split second. But when Mark shined the light on them, they were gone. A horrifying thought came over him. The dark was taking them. Officer Dana had never been afraid like this before. This is saying a lot for a cop riding a subway car at midnight. But as she realized that the dark was the enemy, she had been terrified. But her professional mind instantly took over. She recruited the remaining 6 L42 passengers, who she had noticed that all of them had been holding light sources since the stop, to try and find ways to escape. But escape to where? They didn't know where they were, and none of their phones worked. As she looked out, she saw a little maintenance station about half a mile away, but its flickering emergency light seemed too feeble to ward off the dark. A thought occurred to her. There must be an emergency kit stowed somewhere. I can go grab it. As she made her way to the door, she looked back just in time for a man's book light to run out. She closed her eyes just as he screamed and disappeared. Henry realized he could count the survivors on one hand. 5 remained, including himself, the conductor, the policewoman, and 2 businessmen. All were running low on batteries for their phones or mini flashlights. The cop was trying to break down the door to the next car, which apparently had an emergency kit with flashlights. Then all of a sudden, as they were trying to break down the door, he saw something on the tracks. It was bright orange with flashlights poking out. It was in the center of a light beam from a small emergency floodlight mounted on the wall. Both the cop and the survivor managed to pry open the exit door, excited at the idea that they might actually survive this. She ran and grabbed the bag, but suddenly the floodlight flickered off. She and the other guy had been taken. Mark felt lightheaded. He was trapped in the subway car in the middle of nowhere by the dark. He scrambled over to the open door and shut it closed. No one complained, mainly because only 3 people remained. They didn't want whatever took the others to get them too. They were so terrified of the idea that they weren't going to survive, they were willing to do anything. But Mark's mind was not surviving. He was thinking of events like these: Roanoke, the Bermuda Triangle, Alaska Mountains, and K2. They were all places where their inhabitants had vanished without a trace. It seemed like a natural phenomenon, but it was still extremely eerie. And at the exact same moment, the power was restored. "Yes!" yelled Hendrickson. He'd never been so happy to see a light in his life. He felt stabbed with joy as he realized the train could be moved. As the train began to power up, Hendricks realized that he could finally rest. He looked at his watch. 3 o'clock a.m. He sighed with relief and closed his eye. The train was nearing the station. Finally, thought Mark. He brought the train to a crawl, seeing people on the station waving at them. As he stopped at the station, he saw that some people seemed to be made of shadows. But it's too late. They were all engulfed in darkness. Police found the abandoned L42 the next day. No one knows what happened to it.